Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So we now have about 2 weeks left in the regular season. Then the playoffs start up. We're less than 3 months away from the NHL draft, as well as 3 months on the dot from 2025 free agency. So I thought it'd be a fun idea to get the pulse of the people, get some of your hot takes. I ask you guys like every 2 weeks on my Instagram, and Beyond Hockey, go follow it, to send in your hot takes, and I'm going to react. Do I think that you're kind of cooking, or do I think that you're absolutely out to lunch? We're going to go through it. We're not going to waste any time from a myriad of topics from end of the regular season, playoffs, awards, free agency, draft, or even looking at next season. Let's dive into it. Your time is precious, so let's not waste it. Up first, from Landon, the Devils are going to beat the Canes if they make the playoffs. It's going to come down to the status of Siegenthaler and Hamilton. I think regardless, even if both of those guys are healthy, they're still dogs in that series because they don't have Jack Hughes. But if both are healthy, I'd give them like a 35 to 40% chance. If one of them's healthy, that probably drops to like 25 to 30. And if both of them are hurt, it's probably going to be like 15%, just because they just don't have that depth beyond those guys. You can't lose 3 of arguably your top 7 or 8 players and expect to beat a team like Carolina that is so experienced in the playoffs. And again, I don't think Carolina is some like true top tier contender, but they know how to win come playoff time. Rod Brindamore would find a way to beat an injured New Jersey Devils team. I think Markstrom is better than Anderson and Kochetkov. They do have that going for them. But yeah, Carolina, at full health, the Devils' defense core is somewhat comparable, but I still would take Carolina's. And if they're missing one of those guys, it's just a massive gap, and they have far more forward depth. So anything's possible. Again, even if they're missing those 2 guys, I would still give them a chance. But I'm not too high on this New Jersey Devils team at this point. Next year is definitely the year when they get Jack Hughes healthy. Luke Hughes has been amazing, though, of late. 19 points in his last 17 games. That's crazy. Next up, from Arthur, Detroit will be a bottom 5 team next year. And I get called the Detroit hater, and geez, this is next level when looking at Detroit. I think we can pencil in San Jose, Chicago, and Pittsburgh all being worse next season. I think that's kind of a lock. I would also say Philadelphia is pretty easily going to be worse unless they do something with like their myriad of picks in terms of acquiring top-end talent. So that leaves us four teams that I would like pencil in, basically. It's going to be between them, Buffalo, Nashville. I think is going to be better next season. Their underlying numbers are pretty solid. I don't have Detroit in the bottom 5, but I guess that 5th spot is somewhat possible, considering this year has been underwhelming. They're going to have more people come up within the system if they can take sizable steps. They could arguably make the playoffs next year, but I do agree the floor for next season, based on how it's looking, again, barring massive trades or free agency signings, it's definitely possible. Bottom 4, I would say no. I would say there's like a 5% chance of that happening, but that 5th spot, 10 to 15% chance it's possible to a degree, but no, I do not think I'm sure that's going to get clipped up. I do not think the Detroit Red Wings are going to be a bottom 5 team. Next up, sticking in the Atlantic Division, from Rodriguez 43, Lane Hudson is going to get paid over $10 million per season this summer. When looking at this, if you told me this a week ago, I'd say you're not crazy, but that's a little bit too much. Now that Jacob Chychrun signed for 8 years, $9 million, and I know Jacob Chychrun was a pending unrestricted free agent and had multiple years of high level of play, but what Lane Hudson is doing this season in terms of one of the most productive rookie seasons, U21 defenseman seasons of all time, yeah, if I was him, I'd decide to play out this season, and if they didn't offer anything like above $9.5 million. I know that's crazy, but when looking at what some other guys have gotten paid, some other young defensemen between the range of like 8 to 8.5 2 years ago, Powers, Sanderson, Mort Seider, Brock Faber, yeah, I think I would set my number if I was Lane Hudson at 9.5. I'll take an 8-year 9.5, and it's hard to turn down an 8-year $9 million contract at 21 years old. But yeah, I think I would bet on this season. So if Montreal wants to get it done, it might take an 8x8, as crazy as that is to say, but he just looks like such a special offensive talent that if it pans out, an 8x10 in 3 to 4 years might be a steal of a contract. So on face value, you might think that that's crazy. I don't think that that is that crazy or that hot of a take. But if I posted it out on my socials, people will call me crazy. Next up, Nick says Ryan Leonard, Rookie of the Year next season. I think it's possible. Demidov is definitely the favorite, I would say, right now, just because of how productive he was in the KHL and should be playing a pretty sizable role on Montreal versus Washington. Their top 6 is pretty loaded. Not saying I don't expect Ryan Leonard to potentially crack that, but yeah, it's possible. Washington should be a solid team next year. Ryan Leonard is very, very NHL ready. He is not some kind of project Tage Thompson type. He should have an immediate impact. I'd probably set the points over under at like 52.5 for Ryan Leonard next year. So He'd probably be a favorite to be a finalist for me. Him and Nikki Shin and Demidov right now. I would venture Michael Misa maybe if he potentially debuts as well. But he's not my pick. But that's why it's a hot take, and I think it's a solid hot take. He's definitely in that second tier of not Hart. Calder contenders. Next up, Mavo99. Anton Frundell will go top 4 in the draft. Yeah, I don't even know if this is that hot of a take of late, considering how good he was down the stretch, well above a point per game in the second tier Swedish league at the end of the season. And he had that hype coming into the season. It was just started out slow for like 2 months because he was coming off a pretty big injury. James Hagens has been underwhelming. Scored a big goal against Bentley, but not much against Denver. And just the overall college numbers haven't been that impressive. I feel like the Martone hype is dying down a little bit. Misa and Schaefer, I feel like, have kind of solidified themselves as the top 2. But yeah, I think Frundell is going to be a lot of people's number 3, number 4 come draft time. Roger McQueen has come back from injury. I'd say it's like 50-50 odds at this point that Frundell goes top 4 right now. Next up, Jack says, Blues go on a Cinderella run and win the Stanley Cup. And yeah, the Blues have been the hottest team in the NHL. 15-2-2, I believe, in their last 19 games. I think that they could pull off. I talked about it on the podcast. Go watch the podcast. I talked about it there. I think that they could beat the Winnipeg Jets. They could beat the Vegas Golden Knights for sure. I don't think that this team is 2019 reincarnate, because even you look at 2019, yes, they missed the playoffs the prior year, but they had really high expectations coming into the season because they had Tarasenko, Pietrangelo. The core hadn't made a Stanley Cup final yet. They traded for Ryan O'Reilly. So that team still had legit superstar talent with Ryan O'Reilly, Tarasenko, a true number 1 top 8 defenseman in Alex Pietrangelo. This St. Louis team is very balanced like that St. Louis team, but I don't think that they have that top-end talent. Jordan Binnington isn't playing to the level that he was in 2019, although, again, he's a big game player. 4 Nations playoff numbers are insane. But, yeah, I think that it wouldn't shock me if they won a first-round matchup. If that was your hot take, I could get on board with that. For them to potentially play Winnipeg, or they might be playing Vegas at this point because Minnesota's been slowing down so much. But yeah, for them to play Winnipeg, then winner of Dallas and Colorado, I can't quite see it happening. Not saying it's impossible, but I'd still have the Blues like a 1% chance to win the Stanley Cup, which, I mean, compared to a month ago before 4 Nations, that was probably at 0.1%. So I'll give you that. Mab0908. Ottawa will upset the winner of the Atlantic. And yes, similarly to, I said St. Louis could potentially pull off an upset. I think Ottawa definitely could. When looking at guys like Brady Tkachuk, Stützle, Drake Batherson, the way Dylan Cousins has been playing physical since he got acquired by the team, I think Ottawa is suited for the playoffs. They're not going to be this all-skill team that sometimes we see sneak into the playoffs and then just get dismantled. They're going to be absolute hell for the Atlantic Division winner. And that's why, I don't really think with the way Ottawa has been playing of late, I would still want to win the Atlantic and play Ottawa instead of Toronto or Tampa Bay or Florida if I was one of those top 3 teams, but it's not huge. It's not some giant gap, especially if it's Toronto, given their playoff history. Next up, Ottomont 19 says the Blackhawks overpay for Ehlers and Besser. And yeah, I feel like they got to do something like this. Even if it is kind of a disgusting contract, you got to give Connor Bedard some type of legit point per game, 30 to 35 goal level guy. Maybe you give him some 3 to 4 year deal at an absolute juiced AAV. So you don't give them the term where when you're trying to contend in 5 to 7 years, it's not killing you. But yeah, because they're not going to be a playoff team for the next 2 to 3 years. I think we can agree with Chicago, maybe that 3rd year. But yeah, they're going to have to pay a premium potentially. I know Chicago has the history and all that, but for these guys that have not won yet to go to Chicago where they're not going to have a chance to win until 3-4 years from now, they're going to have to pay a sizable amount. And I would be for that, again, because you can't walk into next season with Ryan Donato as his best forward. And they still haven't re-signed Ryan Donato, but you can't do that. Donato's playing great, but you need to get Bedard some serious talent. Next up, Adam Boris. Wolf should be in the running for the Hart. If you told me this on February 1st, I'd probably agree with you, but he's had an 892 since. It has not been pretty. He's been a top 10, arguably top 5 goalie in the NHL, and I get the argument, if Calgary didn't have them, they wouldn't be in the playoff race. First up, they're not some safe playoff team. It's they have a 55% points percentage. They're on pace for 91 points. Yeah, I think he's definitely been valuable, but he just hasn't been a consensus top 3 goaltender, and of late it has been going a little bit downhill. It's going to be impressive if they end up making the playoffs, and you should get some Vezina votes, but in terms of heart with the guys that we've seen, the seasons that have gone down, I guess you could maybe argue a 5th place vote. There's a pretty clear top 4 forming, but in terms of again, comparably to McKinnon, Kucherov, Draisaitl, Hellebuck, not remotely close to those guys, although he has proven himself as a franchise netminder. Matthew Knies will be the best Leaf in the playoffs from Owen. If this is true, Toronto's probably losing in the first round. they need, like, I think Matthew Knies is very suited for the playoffs, and in 2 to 3 years, he might be on a similar level to those guys. But if Matthew Knies is the Toronto Maple Leafs' best Leaf this year, that means Matthews, Marner, and Nylander are not playing to the level that we know that they're capable of. That's just the truth, and they're probably losing to one of Toronto, Florida, or even Ottawa. So yeah, I think Matthew Knies is in store for a big playoffs as long as Sam Bennett doesn't WWE style throw him down. I think he's a beast. But you need your top three to play like your top three. Simple as that. Matthew Knies, you cannot be relying on great performance from him. Next up, Orion Smith MW says Vegas gets way too much hate for not being loyal to their players. And I agree. If your favorite team did the same thing, but you were winning like Vegas has won over the last couple of years, you wouldn't give a shit. And especially after, I think it's been more normalized now that Tampa kind of told Stamkos to hit the road and sign some egregious contract in Nashville. Vegas is ruthless, but at the end of the day, it is a business, and they have gotten a shit ton of results by being ruthless. From Freddie, no playoffs for the Caps next year. And do I agree that the Capitals might fall off? Yes. But again, they're like a 117-point team this season. They might fall off. They could fall off 20 points and still safely be in a wild card spot. They are a little bit, not fugazi, but again, they are outperforming their underlying metrics. But they're still like 8th to 11th in most underlying metrics once you smush it all together. Expected goals percentage. Yeah, their PDO is juiced, but when looking at them, yes, maybe Ovechkin might regress once he hits the goal record next year. Carlson regresses a little bit, but they also have a shit ton of young guys. Like Protas is only going to get better. McMichael, Ryan Leonard, a full season of Ryan Leonard on an ELC. Rasmus Sandin, Martin Ferravari. Cole Hudson's probably, he's not going to be on the team next year. I'd send him back to Boston University, although he could probably play a third pair role. But yeah, if you're Washington, they should be a playoff team next year, especially with the way that we're seeing other Metro teams implode like the New York Islanders and New York Rangers. Like, who's going to take? Do you think that the Rangers or Islanders are going to be a better team next year? Or I guess maybe Columbus, but still, I think Columbus is far over exceeding their actual talent right now. So Washington, they're safely going to be a playoff team. Could I see them falling to Metro 3? New Jersey does something this summer and just stays healthy. Carolina has a shit ton of cap space. Yes, but they should still be a 97 to 104 point team. I think that there's just too much. They're too deep. Logan Thompson might fall off a little bit, but I still think what he's shown in Vegas, he's going to be an above average to good starter. So I like the boldness. And I hope that happens because maybe my New York Islanders make the playoffs. But I can't rock with that. This isn't a hot take, but Elias says, should Zane Parekh play in the NHL next season or NCAAs? And I got to clarify this because I've seen this get spread a decent amount. He signed his ELC. He can't play in college hockey. Guys that play in the CHL but have signed their ELCs, because you can sign your ELC in the OHL and go back and forth. You can play 9 games or whatever at the start of the season and not burn a year of that ELC. Yeah, he cannot. If you've signed your ELC, you cannot play in the NCAA. So that's why guys like Misa and Schaefer, they can potentially come over next season before they sign their ELCs. But some of the 2024 guys did sign their ELCs, and as a result, they can't play in college hockey. So that's not a hot take, but I just wanted to I didn't know how to foot that in kind of a YouTube video, but that's the explanation there. Zane Parekh, unfortunately, can either play in the OHL again, where he had 107 points, or play in the NHL. He can't play in the AHL either. So the Flames have an interesting decision on their hands. He still has a little bit of work defensively to do. He's good defensively. He's not bad defensively, but it does suck that he can't play in the AHL next season, because that would be the ideal landing spot. Or going to college hockey, he might have to play in the NHL and get thrown to the Wolves immediately. Next up from Fagia, Adam, Wolf and Stolarz the best tandem in the NHL. And I get what you mean in terms of two goalies, the traditional tandem of two very good goalies. In that sense, yes, I guess they are the two best goalies. But when looking at it, I still think you throw Hellebuck with any half-decent backup, and I'm taking that tandem over the Toronto Maple Leafs tandem at the end of the day. I'm taking 63 games of Hellebuck on a heart level and Eric Comrie, who's been just average this season. I just am. But I get what you mean. In terms of tandem, where there's no top 5 goaltender within that tandem or top 3 guy, I do agree, and I said at the start of the season that they were going to be top 5 in save percentage this year, so I got to collect my wins when I can, considering how bad yesterday's video was. Go watch that, the reviewing the preseason predictions. But yeah, it's a top 3 tandem for sure, but I'm still taking Winnipeg's tandem. Next up from Tristan, Kings will finally break the streak and beat Edmonton in 7. Made a video on TikTok earlier today going over this. I agree. I think that it's their best shot for sure since 2022. They're well balanced compared to Edmonton that is very top heavy. Edmonton's special teams aren't nearly as good. Darcy Kemper has been an elite top 5 goaltender since basically December 1st. It's going to be a war. I think a lot of people are just going to pencil in Edmonton because of what has happened prior. They won last year in 5 games, but it's going to be really close. And right now, I might be leaning towards LA in 7 games. Next up, Axel, Buffalo will make the playoffs next year. It's not impossible. Again, if everything goes right, if they actually spend some money and be aggressive this summer, it theoretically is possible. I'd say 15 to 20%. I just don't think that this team really has what it takes, and I don't expect them to spend serious money and be aggressive. So no, I think that they're going to be better next year. They could be an 85 to 90 point team, but in terms of making the playoffs, this team just seems cursed, and I'm not a big fan of Lindy Ruff. I was not a big fan of the hiring at the time. It doesn't look good quite right now. Feelers for Ehlers. Boston's 65-win season is more impressive than a Stanley Cup win. At the end of the day, I get what you're saying. It's obviously more rare than winning the Stanley Cup, where they hand one out every single season or hand it out every single season. But no, at the end of the day, if Boston won the Stanley Cup, I think that then it would be more impressive that they set the all-time wins record, set the points record, than just winning a Stanley Cup. But the fact that they lost, that's what they're really going to be remembered for. It's going to be, they set the points record, but same thing with the 73-9 Warriors. It's going to be 73 wins, but lost to LeBron. So when looking at that, and especially considering they lost in the first round, really makes it embarrassing. So no, I can't agree with you on that. I agree that if they won the Stanley Cup, they'd be remembered as the team that that set the points record compared to winning the Stanley Cup. But because they lost, gotta disagree. Next from Nate Lynch. If Nikita Kucherov's name was Nick Kucherman from Ontario, he'd have 3 Hart trophies. And I understand Tampa Bay Lightning fans last year complaining about Kucherov not winning the Hart Trophy. It was really close between him and McKinnon for me. I ended up going with McKinnon just because he did have more goals and he was better defensively. And although Kucherov led his team in points by more, Kucherov did have a better, if you look at the 3 through 6 compared to yes, McKinnon had Mikko Rantanen at 105 points, but not talking about that. That was a toss-up. I understand Tampa Bay Lightning fans getting mad at that. This year, I don't see it, man. I just don't see it. I get that he is the leader in points per game, but he only has 5 more points than Leon Draisaitl in the same amount of games, and he has 18 less goals, and his supporting cast is far better. I know Draisaitl has McDavid, but again, you look at the 3 through 9, 3 through 7 of the teams, and it's not comparable. Tampa Bay leads the way so much more. This season, I just disagree, and on top of that, Hellebuck. I think Draisaitl and Hellebuck are the clear top 2. If Kucherov continues to play at this insane rate, maybe there's an argument. But this year, I think it's just grasping at straws, saying, oh, he's Russian. Oh, he plays in Tampa Bay. That's why he's not winning it this year. Last year, you can maybe make that argument. Nathan McKinnon, Canadian, second best Canadian in the NHL. Maybe there's some media bias. Denver's a bigger market, more hockey market. But this year, I just really don't see it. I don't see it, especially considering a guy like Hellebuck that's American and plays in Winnipeg is getting more Hart love. I don't like that small market, untraditional market kind of argument for Nikita Kucherov. So still, he'd be my 3rd guy for the Hart right now, but somewhat of a distant 3rd in terms of Kucherov in terms of Draisaitl and Hellebuck. Lastly, another Hellebuck one. Even if Hellebuck wins the Vezina, he will not rank higher all time than Price or Lundqvist. You're saying if he wins it and he doesn't win the Hart. I think if he wins the Hart, I think he passes both of those guys in terms of all time. When looking at it, he'd have 3 Harts. Well, those guys only won 1 Hart. His 8-year prime from 2018 to now is one of the most impressive goalie runs of all time. It's definitely the best since Martin Brodeur won 4 Vezinas in 5 seasons, or Dominik Hasek. He's been so dominant and so consistent, and it's not like Price and Lundqvist, although they both made Stanley Cup finals, it's not like they have this legendary playoff performance, Stanley Cups galore. I think if Hellebuck, he's going to be the consensus Vezina pick this year and probably the Hart runner-up, I think he moves ahead of those guys. I know that Henrik Lundqvist still has 100 more wins or 130 more wins than Connor Hellebuck, so I can see maybe Henrik Lundqvist still being ahead, but I think Carey Price kind of gets topped by Connor Hellebuck if he wins the Vezina this season, especially because I think Hellebuck's season this year is on par with 2015 Carey Price. He might not actually win the Hart Trophy, but I think it is on the same level. So yeah, I think Connor Hellebuyck, he still has like 320 wins all time. He's like only 40 behind Carey Price. So even longevity wise, he isn't that far behind a guy like Carey Price. I think rightfully so. He kind of enters that next tier, enters a potential like top 12 greatest goaltenders of all time, because now he has 3 Vezinas. That's such rarefied air, and he has been so dominant. And even in 2018, he had a very good playoff run to the Western Conference Finals. 2021 won a round. He still has like a 919 all time in playoffs. I hate the argument that he's shit in the playoffs every single year. Last year, defense let him down a decent amount. He wasn't good, don't get me wrong, but the prior year against Vegas, they were just not that good of a team. They got caved in. Hellebuyck, I think, passes both of them with the Vezina win, for sure with the Hart win. And we can agree that in another 2 years, it's not even going to be a debate, assuming he has even just the Vezina finalist seasons the next 2 years. He's going to pass them with these when it's all said and done, no doubt, even if he never wins a Stanley Cup, because again, those guys never won a Stanley Cup. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about these hot takes? Drop some of your hot takes down below. I'll be seeing you in the next one. Peace.